Oh my gosh, it is Monday night in Space City, Houston. It's 90.1 on the FM dial. Listeners aboarded, KPFT. If you're looking, it's KPFT 90.1 FM. And this Saturday, a lot of you were probably out there. I hope a lot of you. It seems like a lot of people were out there at the No Kings protests. It was getting pretty intense out there. They say over 10 million people were in the streets blaming Donald Trump for all of the things going wrong in the world. And I'm with it. Hey, if that's what gets you out in the streets, go for it, man. Go for it. But it seems like a lot of them, I was reading the posters and I was seeing a lot of people say they're anti-fascist. They were so against fascism. And it got me thinking, man. It got me thinking about, well, what can be more anti-fascist than veganism? And is veganism Antifa? I don't know. I'm starting to get confused because if anything is anti-fascist, it's veganism. And I started thinking, all those people, all those 10 millions of people, are they all vegan? Because clearly they're against fascism, so they must be vegan. But every time I go to a protest, it's about rah, rah, rah against the government, or, because, I'm a bit of a revolutionary myself, Peter. I go out there and I listen to them, and I get on my megaphone and I do all the chants, and I've been doing less and less of it because every time I go to a protest that's supposed to be about fighting the power structures and dismantling the hierarchy and smashing the patriarchy and reestablishing power to the people, at the end, someone always brings dead animals to share with their friends. They're usually dead chickens that they like to share, because after all, sharing dead pig flesh, that's not something that not everyone will do the dead pig. But the poor chicken, the humble chicken, well, anybody seems they sign up. Or every time I see a protest go on, a big one like on No Kings, there's always a line of cars around KFC afterwards, or Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. And I can't help but think, I thought you were fighting fascism, man. I thought that you guys were against all of that. And I want to invite you all to venture into my mind for a moment. What I was thinking when I saw all those protests on the news, I'm hoping that you'll enjoy just a few minutes of what it sounded like in my brain when I was watching that on the news this weekend. Blue, would you run the first clip for me? They say fascism is rising again. The people march, they chant, they hold signs and quote Emma Goldman. But after the march, the order wings. The true fascists always eat like kings. Fascism begins where empathy ends. It thrives on obedience, on hierarchy, on the sacred myth that some are born to serve. The animal is the first scapegoat, the original other. The animal farm is the original concentration camp, the slaughterhouse, the first assembly line. When you eat an animal, you embrace hierarchy. You embrace obedience. You embrace the fascist dream and call it dinner.
Our ancestors gave everything for homelands that they defended with pride, with sweat, with blood, with life, and with death. Now the righteous task of protecting the nations that they built belongs to each and every one of us.
The fascist loves domination. It doesn't matter if he wears a suit or a chef's apron. It believes in power over compassion, death over life. Veganism is not a trend. It's resistance. It's anti-hierarchy. It's the refusal to kneel to the empire.
Love has never been a popular movement, and no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together, by the love and the passion of very few people. Otherwise, of course, you can despair. Walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you got to remember is what you're looking at is also you. Everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. You could be that cop. And you're to decide in yourself not to be.
To be vegan is to say, no being exists for another's pleasure. No one is property. No king. No master. We all are more than meat.
You know, I usually don't mention that I'm vegan. But that has evolved, I think, and I think it's the right moment to talk about it, because it is, I think, a part of a revolutionary perspective. How can we not only discover more compassionate relations with human beings, but how can we develop compassionate relations with the other creatures with whom we share this planet? And that would mean challenging the whole capitalist industrial form of food production. It would mean being aware, driving up the interstates and seeing all of the cows on all of the ranches there. You know, most people don't think about the fact that they're eating animals. When they, you know, eat a steak or eat a chicken, most people don't think about the horrendous suffering that those animals must endure simply in order to become food products to be consumed by human beings.
Empathy is revolutionary because it collapses borders between species, between nations, between us and them. Fascism can't survive in a world where empathy knows no boundary. Everyone is sick of supremacy.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed.
Every system of oppression begins with a story of superiority, about who counts and who doesn't, about who gets to live and who gets to die. If you eat the flesh of the oppressed, you are the oppressor. We can't dismantle fascism with a fork soaked in blood. If you are not vegan, you are still worshiping the throne.
When everything around you is propelled by kinetic energy, Zinn says, you cannot be neutral on a moving train. Not only is Zinn telling us that we cannot be neutral on a moving train, but he is reminding us that none of us are passive spectators on this train in a world moving towards greater and greater uncertainty.
The throne was built on the backs of animals first. We only learn to enslave each other by perfecting the art of enslaving them. Liberation doesn't start in the heart, it starts in the stomach. It starts when we stop consuming power, when we see that resistance means resisting. In a world obsessed with kings,
The vegan says, I will not rule and I will not be ruled. Because anti-fascism without veganism is just hierarchy wearing a mask. And it's just fascism all over again.
That was the sound. That's the sound of pigs being led into the gas chamber. I spared everyone the sound of the pigs in the gas chamber. Now that activists have planted hidden cameras into the gas chambers of where we kill 90% of our over 100 million pigs in America every year, we have the sound of what it sounds like inside the gas chamber. And I welcome you all to search for it on your own if you haven't been convinced yet why you shouldn't be doing this. why we're concerned about this. I think it's important, and I hope that you do too. But the question is whether it's fascism. And my thesis for tonight on Vegan World Radio, on kpft.org, streaming live on kpft.org and coming through your earballs through the radio waves at 90.1 FM in Houston, is, you tell me, is it fascism to harm animals the way we do? I thought we could look at a definition before I beg you for money. Robert O. Paxton, who's an American political scientist and historian specializing in Vichy France, fascism, and Europe during World War II era, he is a Mellon Professor Emeritus of Social Science in the Department of History at Columbia University. He's best known for his 1972 book, Vichy France, Old Guard and New Order, which precipitated intense debate in France and led to a paradigm shift in how the events of the Vichy regime are interpreted. Robert O. Paxton, he had such a succinct and great definition of fascism in his book, and this is it. Fascism is a form of political behavior marked by obsessive preoccupation with community decline, humiliation, or victimhood, and by compensatory cults of unity, energy, and purity, in which a mass-based party of committed nationalist militants working in uneasy but effective collaboration with traditional elites abandons democratic liberties and pursues with redemptive violence and without ethical or legal restraints goals of internal cleansing and external expansion. And you might say, oh, Skyjack Morgan, host of Vegan World Radio, how could you say that what we're doing to animals fits that definition? Where we're going to go through 6 of the markers tonight of fascism and see if veganism stands in stark contrast to that. Is veganism necessary to fight fascism? I really want to hammer home that we're going to go into 6 of these, okay? I think that at the end of the day, what fascism really is a worship of hierarchy, and that veganism is the refusal to dominate. And the reason why we refuse to dominate and why we reject the culture of domination is because we don't support this hierarchical view of the world. A man is not over a woman. A white man is not over a black man. This is old world atavistic thinking, archaic thought, pre-Enlightenment thinking, and yet we're still imprisoned by it. Veganism, I think, sets you free of it, because of course I'm no better than a cow, a chicken, or a pig. Veganism at its heart is that says that at its heart that I'm no better than anyone else, because in all the ways that matter, we are equal. I want to live and go on breathing no more than a cow or a pig or a chicken or a fish wants to go on living and breathing. No more, no less. We are completely equal in that. We're identical in that regard. To put one life over another as a matter of course or as a basis on which we are building our society, well, that's folly. As long as some of our fellow earthbound creatures are enslaved by us, we are engaged in unjust behavior and are destined to be enslaved ourselves, because none of us are free until all of us are free. And so if we're going to continue to worship at the foot of the hierarchy, I don't see how we can continue. I honestly don't know how far our species can go if we continue to subjugate other species. How long will we last? And the fascist trait, number one, is that belief in natural social hierarchy, rulers over the ruled. And here's Jason Stanley explaining how fascism divides people into us versus them. Blue, will you roll the clip?
One group of us is not better than another group of us. Hierarchy is central here because it's the big lie at the center of things. What is racism but one big lie? Racism is the lie that one group is better than another. You're told this religion is better, this race is better, this gender is better. It's really a moral claim, has more moral worth. And then once you have hierarchy set up, you can make people very nervous and frightened about losing their position on that hierarchy.
So Jason Stanley's talking about why we accept this idea of hierarchy, because if there's someone under you, then you don't want to slip down, you don't want to slip, so you will invest and reinvest into that ladder, because your rung, the more you invest in that ladder of hierarchy, your rung is more and more stable. But that means only because if you're only doing it because you're afraid of sliding down a rung, well, guess what you're involved in? Fascism. A lot of people who feel poor or disenfranchised or just ignored by society, a lot of them, there's an old joke on that old Roseanne show where she says, where Darlene wanted to be vegetarian, and she said, we're so low on the totem pole, we only have the animals to oppress. That's all we have. That's all we got. We have to, the poop rolls downhill. And so, of course, we've got to step on the animals. Because after all, everyone's on top of us. We got to be on top of somebody. Jason Stanley has a great video on YouTube about fascism, about the 6 points. And I thought that he said that so perfectly. Every time we decide a being's worth by their birth traits, we're repeating the first lie of fascism. The first lie of fascism is that we have supremacy over others. Now, whoever that we is, that's up for grabs, depending on what society you live in, but what culture you're from. But it seems like a global phenomenon that we think that we are superior to animals, that we have the permission to dominate them. And that culture of domination pervades everything because of it. As long as we're dominating animals, we'll be dominating each other until we throw out the whole bit. And maybe we'll, start looking at each other like neighbors and like equals. Maybe that'll be something that we can work towards. What do you think? Marker number 2 of fascism is nationalism and purity. This obsession with purity, one blood, one people, one flag. I'm sure you've heard that over the years. Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. You hear it throughout any fascist that rise to power. They're always about that. I wonder if veganism is against that. We do have a clip. I think you'll enjoy it.
We are the storm, and our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion. Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us.
All right. Well, that is Stephen Miller right there, the arguably most fascist man in America these days. I think if there were a contest, I think he'd get the blue ribbon. He's unabashedly quoting Goebbels in that speech. He's almost he's plagiarizing Goebbels. It's shocking every time I hear it. When I first heard it, I started translating it into German, and everyone thought that I was making jokes. But no. When you're translating it into German, you can tell it's from Goebbels. A lot of people have cross-referenced old speeches from the propaganda minister, and you can hear him talking about that, how who's he talking about? Dark, the light over the dark, that light will prevail over the dark. Who's he talking about there? Who's he talking about when he says that we have created the art and the architecture? We are the ones who created society. Who's he talking about this purity of the races? Who's he talking about? I wonder. He mentions Monticello in there. He mentions Rome as well. Rome, of course, a fallen empire. It's an interesting reference, but there's one much more recent. It's Monticello. Now, I don't know if you've been to Monticello. I've been to Monticello. The first time I went there, they pointed at a certain area and they said, look at that. Those are the guest housing. That's the guest housing area. I said, what? What do you mean guest housing area? The guest worker area. The guest worker housing. What is that? Guest worker housing. Of course, they were talking about slaves living at Monticello, because Monticello was Thomas Jefferson's house that he designed in Virginia, and he owned slaves there. And the fact that he mentions Monticello blows my mind. It's such a strange thing to do. But he's still talking about a certain race being the chosen people almost, isn't he? The pure ones. But aren't we doing the same thing with species? Species purity. Through the vegan lens, if you just adjust it a little bit, don't you see that we're the pure ones? Humans are the chosen species. God only cares about us. He imbued us with a soul. Only we are allowed to dominate the others. Any animal acting out of line, that's an aberration and must be dealt with swiftly. But a human goes out and kills an animal. That's normal. And that's how you always hear about the obsession with law and order and fascism. The people at the very top, the law and order, they can't disobey the law because they are the law. The people at the very top, every single fascist dictatorship, that's always the way it is. What's happening today shouldn't be a shock. We've seen it countless times before in the last century. Now, people at the top, they can't break the law. The people lower down on the ladder in those rungs we were talking about earlier, the second they say, give me liberty or give me death, the second they say, I'd rather not be on this rung of the ladder, well, they obviously aren't law-abiding. They don't respect law and order. And you see that with the animals. If a lion eats a person, that's considered an unbelievable shark attack. Oh my God, how could that possibly happen? These sharks are out of control. Don't they realize that we're the ones in control? Don't they realize? And so animal-free living, I think, dismantles this purity culture by recognizing the interconnectedness, the one health of the world, instead of dominance. And as long as we reject dominance, if you're rejecting fascism, you are rejecting this idea of dominance and purity and nationalism and speciesism and sexism, racism. These are the things that we're rejecting when we say, I'm anti-fascist, I'm against fascism. So I wonder how many people in those No Kings protests this weekend are thinking about these things. I wonder so much, because so many of them just seem like they want to go back to the way things were before Donald Trump. Not realizing that Donald Trump's road to kingship, that road was paved. It was paved by us. We led the way. We showed him where his throne was, and we handed him the crown. We offered it to him thrice. Thrice refused. Thrice offered, thrice refused. But eventually he put it on his head. Marker number 3 is control and domination of bodies. Policing bodies, reproductive control, gender control, and labor control. It's an interesting situation. I think that you could kind of guess where we're going with this. If you're controlling others' bodies and others' genitalia and reproductive organs, that would be, I think, pretty squarely within the realms of fascism. We're seeing this carry out. We're seeing this play out. I think you could see where we're going this with the vegan right here on Vegan World Radio. I think you can tell where we're going.
Yeah.
Claire Gall with Wink News in Fort Myers. What is your direction to ICE when it comes to arresting farm workers here illegally, other workers in industries that are pretty critical to Florida's economy?
Yeah. Well, we're very much cognizant of that, and as you know, I won the farmers by 92%, and I'm not going to be abandoning my farmers. We were strong on the borders, but we're also strong for the farmers and for others in the hotel industry, etc. You know, we have similar situations. And Christy and I, and we'll be working with Ron and a lot of the states. We're going to work something where the farmers can be responsible for some of the people that have, and they have people run for 10, 15 years that they know very well. We're going to put them responsible and we're going to issue a form of a card or document, and the farmer's going to be responsible for these people. They're not going to have citizenship, but they'll be working, they'll be paying taxes. We need to get our farmers the people they need, otherwise our farmers aren't going to be able to do their land. You know, it was tried once before, many, many years ago, where there was a very strong guy, and he got everybody out, and every farm, almost in the country, but every farm in California, every farm in Iowa, almost all the farms went bankrupt. They had nobody to work, and we don't want to have that situation. So we're going to work it. We're going to put our farmers and others in charge of the people that they have under them. They know the people, and I think it's going to work out really well. We're going to take care of our farmer, but we're going to get the criminals out, okay?
A lot of people heard that, and they heard owner responsibility is what it's been called lately. The idea that certain prisoners, people detained by ICE, will be lent out or will be given to farmers who will be responsible to them. They'll be citizens, not citizens, but they're here to work, and they're here to toil away on our farms, but they have no rights. But these are people that the farmers have known for a long time. It's perfectly okay, I guess. If you've known them for a long time, you can own them. It's a terrifying notion, this idea that but already, you know, prisons, the 13th Amendment allows prisons to take you because you've broken some rule that the government set. They're allowed to take you and then force you to work for free. There's a loophole in the 13th Amendment. The abolition of slavery doesn't apply to criminals. Now, you can just call anyone you want a criminal these days and not have to prove anything. So anytime, it could be anything. It could be jaywalking, if you will, and they determine that you're going to be a slave for a little while. It's a scary thing to even suggest. And people, I remember how many people got upset when they said that. Brooke Rollins and they kept on doubling down on it. Kept on saying, we're going to do this thing. We're going to have immigrants that ICE will round up, will get rid of the criminals, and the other ones will lend back to the farmers and allow owner responsibility, is what he kept calling it. Shocking, really. Now, you thought, you know, we thought that that's bad, but it's getting worse, of course. We don't know what's happening to the people who are being deported, and it's getting kind of scary, but I don't want to dwell on that too much. But the fact is that we're okay with controlling labor. We're okay with controlling bodies. We're okay with controlling, and when I say we, America seems perfectly willing to be all right with slavery. Most forms of it, perfectly all right in this country. Perfectly acceptable. They put it on a ballot, people keep voting it down. They keep on voting to keep slavery. If you're a prisoner. What is the most imprisoned species on Earth? Well, it's the chicken. The chicken is the most imprisoned species on Earth. We kill about 70 billion worldwide about 10 billion in America alone. We control every aspect of their lives. And it's all by exploitation of their reproductive organs. We make sure we control every little thing about them. We make sure that they live in little cages or one big cage altogether. Animal breeding, reproductive slavery, and commodification is the ultimate bodily control. And what's crazy to me is that how many people were up in arms. People were so upset that Donald Trump suggested something like slavery, something very, very, it's a form of slavery. Now, you could say you're comparing it to 1860. I'm not comparing it to 1860. I'm comparing it to just a form of, there are many forms of slavery, and this is one form of it. We're talking about owning people who want to be free, owning others. Corporate-owned animals outnumber us. We're like, we are like antebellum South Carolina, where the slaves outnumber the people. We're there. And so veganism, I would argue, on marker 3, control and the domination of bodies, that veganism is the rejection of that. Because when you own another's body, you are practicing fascism, no matter the species, no matter what that species is. If you own them, you are a practicing fascist. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Because you're probably not vegan if you're listening to this. Maybe that sounds crazy to you. But if you want to be free and someone owns you, what would you call it? Because every animal, the thing that we all have in common is that we want to live, we want to breathe, we want to be free. That's the thing that we all have in common. You could say we're different, and we are. Some got 4 legs, some got 2 legs, some got no legs at all. Some got feathers and fly through the sky, some have scales and swim in the ocean. But they all want to live, breathe, and be free. And I think, I wish that the people screaming about fascism would stop being hypocrites and start seeing that after the No Kings protest, maybe they shouldn't be waiting in line at Chick-fil-A. Marker number 4, the glorification of violence. This fascist trait, violence as cleansing, as a strength, or as a moral necessity. You hear this all the time. This is what we have to do. We have to be violent. It's something that we have to do. We can't avoid it. Violence is part of our nature. In fact, violence is a cleansing force. You hear it all the time in wartime propaganda, and fascist propaganda and the fascist rallies. They constantly are preaching violence. And that's something that should give us all pause, but it's something that should also force us to reflect on the violence that we're all complicit in. Maybe Blue can roll this clip for us.
After winning a war for independence in 1789, George Washington established the War Department. And Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. Then 150 years after that, we changed the name from the Department of War to the Department of Defense in 1947. And as you pointed out, Mr. President, we haven't won a major war since. And that's not to disparage our warfighters. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming. It's about restoring. Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force. So at your direction, Mr. President, the War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back. Thank you for your leadership and your clarity. We're going to set the tone for this country. America first, peace through strength, brought to
Now ignore, please, ignore, if you will, the fact that he used America First, which was the literal name of the fascist party of America. It was called America First. It was run by Charles Lindbergh. Ignore that because they just dropped these dog whistles and who knows what to make of them. America, this was going to be America First. It's a little weird. But at the end of the day, he's saying that we can't win wars if we call ourselves the Department of Defense because words matter. Pete Hegseth says words matter. And of course they do. Words do matter. We're just talking about Marker 4 of fascism, the glorification of violence. And we listened to a speech delivered in the White House by Pete Hegseth when they changed the name, not officially, by the way, but they changed the name to the Department of War. They changed the Department of Defense in 1947 because the idea in 1947 was that might does not make right, that no country should be declaring war on another country to expand its borders, to continue to expand those borders so that we can purify the world. I mean, that's what a border does. At the end of the day, borders mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but the root of a border, the reason why a border exists is to establish that the people born on this side of the border are superior to the people born on that side of the border. And the only way to make the world a better place is to expand our borders until they engulf more of the world. That is how we'll make the world a better place, is by moving the border, taking more of it, making the world more like us. Imperialism. But the only way to take it is through violence. The cultural glorification of killing, hunting, the slaughter, the efficiency. Meat is not masculinity. The efficiency is not masculinity. The efficiency to kill is not masculinity. Masculinity is always one of those things, this hyper-sexism and the worship of masculinity in the form of violence. Mussolini said that a war was as important to the spirit of a man as pregnancy was to the spirit of a woman. Man, fascists come up with some crazy things to think about, don't they? Don't they? Do you believe that? Do you believe that masculinity means war? I always thought that masculinity was defending those who are vulnerable, those who can't defend themselves, those who are most likely to be harmed. I thought that that was what masculinity was. I must be crazy because Pete Hegseth just said that, no, we are no longer defense. Defense. No, of course not. We're the Department of War. No longer will we harvest animals, we'll slaughter them. I mean, this idea that since Trump took office, he eliminated the speed limits on slaughter lines because he thought that, well, the speed limits are there for animal welfare, but also for human welfare because people get on-the-job injuries because they're trying to go too quickly and they cut themselves. They're standing elbow to elbow with people. We kill so many animals in this country. If you're just a throat slitter and you're just slitting throats all day long and you're elbow to elbow with the other guy chopping up animals all day long, which, I mean, imagine what that does to your psyche. This is not good for human beings. This is not a good thing for people to do, to be engaged in. You eliminate the slaughterhouse speed limits, and guess what happens? So that efficiency, trying to go faster and stronger, that's one of the hallmarks of fascism. And I think that veganism stands directly in opposition to it. Because violence disguised as tradition is the soundtrack of every fascist dictatorship. We always try to say that violence is the tradition. It's what men do. It's boys will be boys. In fact, every Thanksgiving, make sure you fist a chicken, a turkey, and a duck. Make sure you put your fist into the body cavity of an animal because it's tradition. Marker number 5 of fascism that we're going to talk about tonight. We're only talking about 6. This is Vegan World Radio. Thank you for joining us. My name is Skyjack Morgan. I'm Skyjack Morgan on YouTube if you'd like more of me. But please drop a penny in the pot for kpft.org, listener-supported radio. It's how we keep the lights on, keep challenging people's paradigms. Marker number 5 is anti-intellectualism and propaganda. of fascism. Marker number 5, intellectualism and propaganda, distrust of reason, emotional manipulation, and myth over truth. Man, you see that all the time, the myths. We don't care about the truth. 2 + 2 might equal 5. I'm going to go see that documentary this week, by the way. 2 + 2 = 5, the Orwell, it's called Orwell. 2 + 2 = 5. I can't wait to see that movie. I'm really looking forward to it. It's finally playing near my house, so I'm going to go see it. You should see it too, if you want to. I mean, I'm not allowed to tell you what to do. Don't do what I say, but I'm going to try to see it. I think it looks really cool. It's about fascism, so of course I'm in line for it. I think that anti-intellectualism is a little obvious because of all the wars that we've declared on places like Harvard and higher education. But I think there's more. There's even more. If you look at propaganda and anti-intellectualism, they do sell you that myth of the happy cow, of the happy pig, don't they? You see it all the time. I see trucks going by filled with pig carcasses, and they've got pictures of cartoons of pigs, happy pigs on the sides of the truck. Well, we got another clip for you. Do you mind playing it, Blue?
Tonight, a couple of California meat companies are winning praise from animal activists. It's not just for how they are feeding and housing their animals, it's how they're killing them. Elizabeth Cook on the new approach that improves the quality of what we eat.
At the Belcampo Meat Company, the latest solution to an often uncomfortable fact of life: how we kill the meat we eat. Here, every bit, every cut comes from a humanely raised and slaughtered animal.
We honestly believe that it's the best way to eat meat.
Even at these prices, business is booming.
If you can buy it from someone who is really looking after the animals and kind of making sure that they have a good life up until the point where you eat them, I think that's really important.
A new survey finds a whopping 9 out of 10 U.S. consumers want humane meat.
He's still alive, clearly.
As to why? In part, look no further than videos exposing slaughterhouse abuse.
I think the thing that's driving the humane treatment of animals is going to be this. Because no matter where you go, there can be a camera. And this will be the enforcer.
Professor Temple Grandin is an expert on animal welfare. She's designed systems that reduce the stress and fear felt by livestock on the way to slaughter. Grandin says it's the right thing to do. It also improves meat quality.
If cattle get all excited the last 5 minutes before slaughter, they're more likely to have tough meat.
Federal law already requires humane slaughter to prevent the needless suffering of animals. But a recent government audit shows gruesome violations do occur. In addition, federal law does not cover poultry.
This is a gap in the law that should shock the American conscience.
One California poultry farmer was shocked into action.
We did this because it's the right thing to do.
David Pittman heads up Mary's free-range chickens in the San Joaquin Valley. From egg to farm, they do things differently.
We need to make sure that we are doing everything we can to have the bird have the most humane lifestyle possible.
But it's how Mary's chickens are treated at slaughter that's winning praise from Grandin, the Humane Society, even PETA. Traditional processing includes shackling live birds upside down, stunning them before they're slaughtered. At Mary's, the birds are moved in special crates through chambers.
So there we go. Happy cow, humane slaughter, protein myths. Everything's fine. Don't worry. The government's looking out for you. The government's looking out for the animals. Just go back to sleep, America. You thought I was going to play you an advertisement, I bet, but I wasn't. I wasn't going to make it that easy for you. That was the news. It didn't take long for me to find a clip on the news of people praising how great it is to take care of that quote-unquote uncomfortable fact of life. This is the myth they're selling to you. They want you to shut your brain off. The fascist tells us not to think, the animal industry tells us not to feel, and both demand obedience. Marker number 6, the cult of tradition and obedience. This is how it's always been. This is what they always say. It's always been this way. Let's see the last clip of the night.
More people are turning to religion at the moment.
More people are turning to a hiding place. It's not the same thing at all. Religion, I think, I take my cue from Jesus Christ, really, who told me and told all of us to love each other, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, and visit those in prison. And if you can't do that, you're not a believer. I don't care what church you go to. The world is full of blasphemies.
But I wonder why there are born-again Christians then in large
Because
numbers.
they're panic-stricken. Because they don't know what to do with this century. They don't know what to do with what they made of the world. They don't know what to do with the choices they made. Look at the world. The Christian world.
That's one of my favorite thinkers, James Baldwin, talking about this is what they've done with the world. It's hard to come to terms with what we've done with the world because the thing to say is we've always done it this way. You can't, of course you're afraid of challenging the way we've always done things because this is the mess we've made. What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? We've always eaten animals. Why? Because we're culturally obedient. Tradition is used as a shield for the cruelty that we're inflicting. Fascism thrives on unexamined habits. Veganism is the courage to stop obeying. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And I hope that you'll be vigilant. I hope that you'll think about these things before you go out and protest. If you are going to protest fascism, maybe consider the systems of oppression that you are actively engaged in upholding. And maybe you can be a conscientious observer and objector to those systems. Put on your magic glasses, but if you put them on, you can't take them off. Fascism isn't a regime, it's a reflex. Every act of domination trains that reflex. Every act of compassion breaks that reflex. Be vegan, not because it's kind, but because it's freedom. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Skyjack Morgan on YouTube. This is Vegan World Radio, and I am eternally grateful for the time that we've spent together today. I hope that you will consider making a pledge to support the channel, support the station, because we need to keep going. We need to keep the lights on. We need to keep having dialogue. Dialectic is so important in today's world. It's more important than ever. Thank you so much, Blue, our engineer. And I'll see you, well, one of us will see you next week. One of us will see you next week for Vegan World Radio. Get yourself a t-shirt, $100, they'll send you a t-shirt at kpfk.org. Thank you so much, everybody.
Standing up for animals is a different kind of fight. When corporations keep the truth far from our sight, but the ones who see the truth can't ever let it go. The truth is alive on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. An animal-free fandango. Climate chaos, a dog and planetary plight. Temperatures reaching annual record heights. If the world ends tomorrow, I'll see you in the afterglow. The postmortem's live on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. The One Health message in stereo. Rocket leaves right now. You've got a ticket for this flight. Did you think we let you leave alone? The stars are burning bright. Strap in tight, ready for takeoff. Ignition, here we go. It's Monday night and time for your Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. Let love be your dynamo.